how to stay motivated when you keep getting rejected. So if we take this in the context of work, let's say that you're applying to jobs, you're looking for something new, and you keep getting job rejections, whether that's through at interview stage or before. The first thing that I would say is just take a moment. You can do this right now. You can even do this as an exercise, pause the video and do this exercise. Take a moment to look at or think about what are the reasons why you might be receiving a rejection for a given job, right? So I did this exercise with a client, and I asked her, like, list out, let's do this right now, list out all the reasons why you might not have got the job. And I'm going to read you some of the things that she listed out. I'm overqualified, so I didn't get the job. My interview or communication skills weren't up to scratch. There might be some technical reasons why I didn't get the job. Like, for example, they would need me to move to a different location, and I wasn't willing or able to do that. It requires a certain amount of physical fitness in the line of work that she was going for, and it wasn't quite a match in that way. I might not be the right team fit for them. I might be underqualified. Maybe I was great, but someone else was better, or someone else happened to have more years of experience than I did. There might be passport reasons, visa reasons why they weren't able to offer me the job. It might be that actually the job gets retracted altogether, right? The position's no longer available for some reason. And this list goes on and on and on. There are thousands of reasons, or at least hundreds of reasons, why you might not have been given a job in a specific situation. And what people tend to assume when they don't get a job is, I'm not good enough. I'm the problem. I wasn't good enough to get this job. And they don't consider all the other reasons why you might not have got the job. So that's a useful thing to start to expand your vision, first of all, around it's not this cause and effect that I didn't get the job, therefore I'm not good enough. There might be loads of reasons. And actually, I've certainly been rejected from jobs before where later on, I've been so grateful that I was rejected because I hear something about that company culture, or there's some reason why actually I would have hated to work in that area, or whatever it might be. And so actually, sometimes, people will often say interviews are a two-way street. And actually, sometimes if it's not a fit, they might reject you, but really they're doing you a favor because you're not going to have a good time there. You're not going to feel fulfilled or happy, or it's just not going to work. So there are a whole bunch of reasons why you might be rejected for a certain job. The other thing that I think is really useful to look at here is a rejection is not a standalone thing. Steve Chandler says, yes lives in the land of no. So what that means is, if you're getting a lot of no's, you're in the territory where yeses are. So you don't have no's over here and yeses over here, and you're kind of in this territory and you're far away. It doesn't work that way. It's all one. It's all together. You're going to find yeses the more no's you collect. So have you ever had that experience? I certainly have, where you might do one interview or apply for one job and it doesn't work out, and then a few weeks or months later you apply for another one, it doesn't work out, a few weeks or months later, and it's like, what's happened? And then at some point you've actually got 2 or 3 jobs or interviews that are lined up, or applications that you want to fill out, and you go to an interview and you know that actually if this one doesn't work out, there's these 2 or 3 other jobs that you were really excited about, or interviews that you've got lined up, and then you get that job. You tend to get the job when it's not your only option. So there's a whole other video I could create about that and why that happens. The way that we show up in an interview when we are not worried about it, when we're taking the pressure off, when it's not the only thing, when we're not desperate for it, we tend to show up better. But what I want to point to right now is that when we are in the habit of collecting no's, when we're getting lots of rejections, lots of no's, we're in the right territory. We're in that space of opportunity and expansion, and that's where yes lives. So I used to think that a rejection is this standalone thing by itself, but actually it means that I'm in the right zone to receive a yes. It means I'm playing the game, right? It's like the only way to ensure that you don't lose is to not play the game. It's like at least I'm in the game. I'm doing something, I'm creating something. And if I'm collecting no's, there's a yes coming up. And also each of those no's is a perfect opportunity for me to learn something. It might be that I learn something about my interview skills or something about what kinds of jobs I want to be applying to. It might be that I learn something about the type of job I don't want. It might be that I learn I need to be more picky about the type of job that I apply to. And if we take each of those no's as an opportunity to learn something, then you're leveling up at each time. If you take each of those no's as an opportunity to get really down on yourself because you're not good enough, you're kind of staying at the same level or even reducing your employability. So it can be really useful to think of a no as your as kind of like one step closer to a yes. And I remember when I was, God, I must have been really young, less than 10 years old or something, and I did this charity swim. And I'd raised in advance a certain amount of money for that charity for that swim. And I worked out, okay, in the hour that I'm going to be swimming, this is the number of lengths that I roughly feel like I need to be able to, I want to do in that time. And I remember my dad said something along the lines of, every time you do a length, it's like you're collecting £5 at the end of that length. That's what's happening. So don't think about it like you've got this hour to swim, which at that time for me was a really, really long time and a really, really scary amount of swimming to do. And I'd probably never swum for an hour without stopping before. And so to look at it as this big goal was quite scary. And so my dad said, well, actually, once we worked it out, every single length, you're collecting £5. And so you get to the end of the length, and you're like, thank you for the £5. And you get to the next one, thank you for the £5. It's kind of like that. Every no is you getting to the end of the length. Thank you for this percentage of my yes. And then the next no is another 10% of the yes. And the next no is another 10% of the yes. Seeing it that way can help you to really recognize that you are in creation, you are in the zone of getting to a yes, even when you're receiving no after no after no. If you look at it that way, you can create that. I could talk about this for another 20 minutes, but I hope that's helpful. And comment below if you want more on this, because there are lots of different directions that we could go around this. All right, take care. Bye.